Does anyone have a question I'd like
to ask? Stuart, can you talk about knowing and expressing your mission in this world?
Interesting subject. Look, I mean, one of the ways you can really discover what your mission is in the world is through a state of total surrender, which means that you reach a place inside yourself where you really don't know. You don't, I mean, what, you really don't have opinions, you don't know. The knowledge is knowledge that comes because we're in a state of surrender. And it's not knowledge that's in our mind, it's energy of spirit that flows through us. And it brings with it wisdom, it brings with it, a much more profound knowledge than we can ever accumulate in our brain. That inner awakening will reveal to you what you have to do with your life. It always does. It has done it for me as long as I can remember. And I'm very much convinced. Years ago, I just came to the realization, I don't know anything. I really don't. And I'm so grateful not to have to carry that burden around inside me about knowing. But there is one thing I do know. If I surrender in enough depth, the spirit, the energy of God that flows through, it always guides me, on my journey. It always takes me where I have to go. Sometimes to a lot of places I don't really like being, but it takes me there because that's the place I have to go to work out karma, to grow, to use whatever my experiences are to get closer to spiritual enlightenment. So it's not a matter of knowing, it's a matter of the depth of surrender. How much spiritual energy can flow through your chakra system? How much you can let go, of all these things in the head that tell you who you are and what you're not and blah, 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 and what you want to be, and allow that energy to truly inspire you with what you have to do with your daily life. I mean, that has always worked for me. I mean, before I met Rudy and studied this, I had no consciousness of these kinds of things. But as I grew in it, and as the chakra system developed inside me, all of this became clear. If I'm going to have a mission in life, I certainly have had some kind of mission in life. I'm not even sure what it is, but I do it every day. If I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do in life, it's because this energy, this inspiration, this higher creativity comes through, and it really opens up the path. And every time I follow that, it always gets me closer to the one thing I want to get closer to in my life, which is my spiritual enlightenment. It's to finally be free of karma, to be free of all of the stuff that people have to deal with, the suffering, the pain, the difficulties of life, and to become one with higher energy in the universe. Now that's an incredible journey, because to get to that level, you got to work out all of these different elements of life, relationships, money, being responsible, family, friends, social interactions. And all of that manifests if we truly allow higher energy to guide us. It will show us our mission. And it really, as you develop inside, all of this kind of gets clear. And you stop creating all of, what am I going to be? What's the future going to bring? What's going to happen to me? And you just surrender and let it just happen. Let it just be. Let it manifest in front of you. Take that burden off of yourself of having to worry about the future. And we've all lived into the future. You know, there's nobody here that's an infant. We've lived many, many years. It's presented many different things to us in our life. So the purpose is to truly allow oneself the freedom to connect with higher energy, and then allow that energy, let God, let Spirit, that energy truly guide us. I mean, I didn't know this when I was younger, but it was part of the evolution of my inner life that ultimately showed me this. And when I try to make it happen, it always gets crazy. But when it flows through and manifests and guides, and it opens all these doorways that lead to a much higher plane of consciousness. And it brings success in the world. It brings all kinds of stuff in the world, because we need to work through these things in order to get free of our karma. So we have relationships, we have, you know, children, parents, we have, you know, friends, we have all this, you know, businesses we have to run. All of that is part of the steps on a ladder that we need to learn how to get free of. And how do you get free of it? It's love. It's compassion. I come back to this all the time. It's being grateful for what one is given in their life. And it's just getting strong enough to let life be. It's God's world. We're a bunch of tourists here, you know? And we have to learn to let it be and learn from it that way. What we have to do in ourselves to continue the growth process. It's a pretty incredible way to live, I think. And it denies one nothing. And yeah, there's always problems, there's tension, you meet crazy people, you know, I mean, trust me, I don't want to get into the people that email me with all that stuff. And, you know, but now there's a delete button. You know, I used to get involved with it, and I just delete. I can't waste my energy on the nonsense that sometimes comes. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart?
Yes.
You told me once I tried to be perfect, and you told to Scanner too. Can you explain what is that, to try to be perfect in the meditation, I think?
Look, you know, I always tell people, God is perfect. The rest of us have to deal with our limitations and our imperfections. The limitations and the imperfections are just reminders that we have to get stronger and grow inside ourselves to get closer and closer to that state of perfection that allows us to be one with God. You know, and most people, they're afraid to do things because they have to be perfect at it. And it's a way that keeps people from ever doing anything, because everybody in some way or another is going to fail a little bit. You know, they're going to fail. Something's going to go wrong. They're going to make mistakes. And then they wind up beating themselves up because they have this madness inside themselves that they can't function unless they do something perfectly. And perfection is in the realm of God, angels, higher energy. The rest of us are just human beings. And we have to learn how to use our imperfections in a way that it helps us to grow every day. Because imperfection is truly part of perfection. We need imperfection. Otherwise, we would do nothing about ourselves, nothing. So
It's
what's wrong with us, and people spend so much time beating themselves up because suddenly discover they're making mistakes, or they're afraid to do anything, to take a chance, because they have to be perfect at everything. It creates a very tight person, and it makes it very difficult for them to grow inside themselves. So accept your limitations, accept your imperfections, accept the things that are wrong with you, and allow them to remind you what you need to do every day to grow in your life. We don't have to be perfect. Imperfection is part of perfection. Imperfection is part of the manifestation of God's energy that teaches us what we need to do to grow every day. I mean, the hardest people to spend any time around are people that are right all the time. They can drive you up the wall. They know. And I know people like that, and I avoid them today. I used to, but now I say, who needs it? Who needs to be around people that are right all the time, you know? Their egos are so strong, they don't give anyone room to breathe around them, because they have to be right about everything. It's impossible. So always remind yourself that imperfection is part of God's perfection. It's absolutely an essential ingredient in the development of a spiritual life, because we're human beings and we have to accept our limitations, and then we have to use them to grow every day in our life. I hope
Thank you.
Because it's so important, because so many people are afraid to do anything in life, take a chance, become successful, because of this thing inside them that I have to be perfect. So they get stuck on a little island of perfection where they live, instead of taking chances and opening to what life brings. I see people in this meditation, they come and they stop doing it because they're not perfect at it. They make mistakes, and it just bothers them that there's something in them that's not perfect, you know, which is exactly the thing they need to learn in order to grow in their life, so they can really move to a higher plane instead of being stuck in some strange image of perfection that's in their brain. Those are the hardest people to teach, always. They really are impossible. And I know people like that. I have friends like that, you know.
Me too.
When I'm around them, you can't get a word in edgewise, because they dominate the conversation with all their knowledge and what they know, and they never listen to anybody. They never really listen to anybody else to learn something. So it makes it impossible to communicate. Sure, everybody knows people like that, you know. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Does anyone else have a question? Okay, well, thank you. Bless you all for being here, doing this. I mean, the questions you ask really make me go very deep inside myself. And I'm very grateful. to be here to do this. I wish it was in person. It would be great to hug everybody, to, you know, I mean, I'm kind of getting tired of looking into a computer, but it's all right. The energy is strong and what comes out is very powerful, and God bless you all. And
bless you too. Thank you for your light today.
There'll be class on Sunday, and I hope to see everybody in the class. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.